The blazing summer sun hung over Andrews Air Force Base as flags snapped sharply in the wind. Rows of Air Force personnel stood in immaculate formation, boots aligned, faces forward. This was no ordinary day. President Donald Trump had arrived, unannounced, to honor airmen returning from a classified humanitarian mission overseas. The atmosphere was heavy with patriotism and tension. Cameras clicked. Families waited beyond the barricades. Reporters lined the edge of the tarmac, sensing something significant. As the president moved down the line, exchanging firm handshakes and crisp salutes, anticipation rippled through the ranks. Then he stopped. Senior Airman Jace Carter stood rigid at attention. His eyes were steady, focused, but when the president raised his hand in salute, Jace did not return it. A quiet gasp rolled through the formation. Trump froze, his arm still raised. Jace remained motionless. Secret Service agents shifted. A general stiffened. The silence stretched, thick and unbearable. Slowly, Trump lowered his hand. He studied the young airman for a long moment, then gave a subtle nod. "At ease, son," the president said quietly. Jace nodded once, saying nothing. Behind them, a general's face had gone pale. Everyone wondered the same thing. What had just happened? Why would a decorated airman known for discipline, valor, and leadership refuse to salute the commander-in-chief? No one had an answer, but the story was only beginning. That night, the base buzzed with hushed speculation. Jace Carter's name traveled through the barracks in whispers. Did you see his face? He didn't even flinch. Is he getting court-martialed? Number one dared ask Jace directly. He sat alone on his bunk, staring at a photograph tucked inside a worn leather wallet. It showed a young woman in uniform, her smile warm, her eyes resolute. Captain Abigail Carter, his bunkmate Tech Sergeant Miguel Alvarez, finally broke the silence. You good, brother? Jace didn't look up. You know, refusing a salute like that can end your career? Miguel said carefully. Jace finally met his eyes. There's a reason, he said. A damn good one. Just not yet. Miguel nodded, knowing better than to push. Even so, he couldn't imagine the weight Jace carried. At the White House, the communications team scrambled. The footage hadn't aired, but reporters had noticed. Trump's chief of staff approached him that evening. Sir, what do you want to do about the airman? Trump leaned back, thoughtful. Nothing, not yet. This wasn't defiance. Trump could feel that. It was something else. And he intended to find out what. 3 days later, Jace sat at his desk, staring at a torn sheet of paper. His hands trembled as he wrote, To the President of the United States, I cannot salute you, not out of disrespect for the uniform, but because of what happened to my sister. He stopped there. Captain Abigail Carter had been killed in a drone strike on a humanitarian convoy in Syria. The official report called it a tragic mistake, but Jace had discovered more. The strike had been approved hastily. Her field communications had been ignored. Transcripts showed a high-level authorization signed by the commander-in-chief. Abigail had radioed in, pleading for a delay. Her voice went unanswered. Jace had read the transcripts once, then burned them. But he heard her voice every night. He didn't blame the military. He blamed the machine behind the decisions. That day on the tarmac, refusing the salute wasn't rebellion. It was grief in uniform. The next morning, Jace was summoned to the base commander's office. He expected punishment. Instead, he found 2 men waiting, a decorated Air Force general and a suited man with a White House badge. Senior Airman Carter. The general said, This is Mr. Daniels. He works directly for the president. Daniels stepped forward. The president requests a private meeting. Jace blinked. With me? He wants to understand your refusal, Daniels said. Jace stiffened. Is this an order? It's a request, the general replied. Off duty, no media. No consequences for now. Jace looked out the window. Weighing the moment, I'll go, he said. That night, as he packed, he took out Abigail's photo once more. Maybe it's time, he whispered. The West Wing conference room was silent when Jace entered. President Trump sat alone. No aides, no press. He stood as Jace approached. Sit down, son. Trump broke the silence. You refused my salute. I want to know why. Jace didn't flinch. With all due respect, sir, it wasn't personal, it was painful. Trump leaned. Forward, tell me. Jace placed the photo on the table. My sister, Captain Abigail Carter, killed last year in Syria. Friendly fire. Trump studied the photo. I remember the operation. She radioed in, Jace said, begged to delay the strike. Her comms were ignored, and the approval came from the top. The room felt colder. Are you saying I signed off on a mission that killed your sister? Trump asked quietly. I'm saying the system let her die, Jace replied. And it carries your name. Silence. What do you want from me? Trump finally asked. I want the truth, Jace said. And I want her voice heard. For the first time in a long while, the most powerful man in the world had no words. That night, Trump sat alone in the Oval Office. Abigail's photo in his hands, he ordered the mission files. Every transcript, every recording. Hours later, he listened to Abigail's final transmission. This is Captain Abigail Carter. Non-combat convoy, civilians aboard. I repeat, abort strike. Wrong coordinates. Another voice cut in, rushed, dismissive. We can't delay, orders confirmed. Then silence. Then impact. Trump clenched his jaw. Someone had buried her voice. The next day he called Jace. I heard her, Trump said. She was right. And then he made a choice. In the Rose Garden, Trump stood without a teleprompter. He held up Abigail's photo. This is Captain Abigail Carter, he said. She was a hero. She died saving lives, but her voice was silenced by a system that chose speed over truth. The nation watched in stunned silence. We are opening a full investigation into the strike that took her life. A reporter shouted, Mr. President, won't this damage national security? Trump didn't hesitate. There is no security without integrity. And with that, a soldier's voice, once ignored, was finally heard. Jace watched from the back of the Rose Garden, his eyes burning. He never imagined the man he couldn't salute would become his sister's voice, but not everyone was applauding. In the shadows of the Pentagon, powerful figures began to move. The backlash was immediate and fierce. Political opponents called the investigation reckless. Some generals accused President Trump of undermining military command. Anonymous leaks flooded the press counter-narratives designed to smear Captain Abigail Carter's record, questioning her judgment, her discipline, her decisions. Trump's inner circle urged him to slow down. He refused. Instead, he called Jace. Back to the White House. They're dragging her name through the mud. Jace said quietly. They won't win, Trump replied. We're building something bigger now, Jace frowned. Bigger than what? Trump looked him straight in the eye. A law. In her name. Jace froze. Every combat transmission will be permanently preserved, Trump continued. Reviewed. By independent oversight. No more buried voices. No more corrupted files. Abigail's law? Jace asked, barely believing it. Trump nodded. Exactly. The wheels of change were turning, but enemies were moving just as fast. One man, retired General Harold Whitaker, had orchestrated the original cover-up. Watching events unfold from afar, he seethed. Trump won't finish this, he vowed. That night, in a private D.C. club, Whitaker met with 2 senators and a defense contractor. We can't let this law pass, Whitaker said coldly. It exposes operations none of us want examined. One senator swirled his scotch. And the brother? Whitaker smiled thinly. Leave him to me. Plans were set in motion. Leaks to weaken Trump, whispers to discredit Abigail, and threats meant to silence Jace. Unaware of what was coming, Jace accepted an invitation to speak at a military memorial. He stood at the podium, Abigail's photo pinned to his chest. She believed every life mattered, he said. Even when no one was watching, her final act was trying to save strangers. The crowd was silent, moved, grieving, but in the back, one man smiled grimly. He sent a single text. Stage is set. The next morning, Jace found a note slipped beneath his door. Drop this or you'll regret it. She died because she disobeyed. Don't make her mistake. No signature. Just venom. He reported it. No traceable fingerprints. No cameras. Later that day, Daniels called. They're trying to scare you. Jace exhaled. It's working. You want out? Jace looked at Abigail's photo. No, I want justice. Trump ordered increased security immediately. Then he dropped another surprise. You're speaking at the Capitol next week. Jace blinked. Me? Veterans, lawmakers, media, Trump said. They'll believe you more than they'll ever believe me. The countdown began. As the speech neared, Jace rehearsed relentlessly. Every word mattered. Meanwhile, Whitaker struck again. Doctored footage leaked allegedly showing Abigail acting irrationally before the strike, a deepfake. Convincing to the untrained eye, news outlets exploded, hero or hazard. Screamed the headlines. Jace was crushed until Trump's media team released the authentic mission logs, real footage, real timestamps. The truth cut cleanly through the lie. Still, the battle for public opinion raged. Jace asked Trump quietly, "What if I mess this up?" Trump answered without hesitation. "Then you'll still be the bravest man in that room. Under the Capitol dome." Jace Carter stepped to the podium. Veterans sat shoulder to shoulder. Lawmakers leaned forward. Millions watched at home. "My name is Jace Carter," he began. "My sister died in a war zone. But she wasn't betrayed by the enemy, she was betrayed by silence," he told Abigail's story. Her warning, her final transmission. The cover dash up. He ended simply, "No voice should vanish into static. No hero should be erased. Let Abigail's law stand not for politics, but for every soldier who serves with heart." The chamber broke into tears. Trump stood first and led the applause. The bill passed with overwhelming support. 1 week later, the nation watched as President Trump awarded Captain Abigail Carter the Medal of Honor posthumously. Jace stood beside him, hands shaking as he accepted it. "This medal isn't just for bravery," Trump said. "It's for truth." But the story wasn't over. A whistleblower emerged. Colonel Lena Walsh, an intelligence officer who had secretly preserved Abigail's final transmission. She met with Daniels. Whitaker orchestrated more than a cover-up. She said, "He sold false intelligence to push a defense contract. The strike was based on fabricated data." Daniels went pale. "You're saying he profited from the mission that killed her?" Walsh nodded. "And he's still hiding it." Trump was briefed. "If this is true," he said grimly, "we're not talking scandal. We're talking treason." Federal charges followed, emails, payments, testimony. Jace took the stand steady, resolute. "I stand here because she can't," he said. "But her voice will never be erased again." Trump sat quietly in the back as the verdict was read. Guilty. On all counts. Justice finally had a name. Jace returned to Andrews Air Force Base. This time he wasn't just an airman. He was a symbol. New cadets stared in awe. His story was taught in ethics training. Miguel clapped him on the shoulder. "You made it home." "Not sure I ever left," Jace replied. That night, he visited the memorial wall and pinned Abigail's medal beneath her photo. "She made it home, too," he whispered. Trump called him one last time. "I'm forming a new oversight unit, veterans. Whistleblowers, active service members," he said. "I want you on it." "Me? You see the cracks?" Trump said. "Help us fill them." As they shook hands, Trump paused. "You never saluted me," he said. "But I salute you." Jace raised his hand this time without hesitation and returned the salute. Months later, Abigail's law became permanent defense policy, every combat transmission reviewed. Every voice preserved. At the signing ceremony, Trump said, "Her voice was almost lost, but her brother and this nation refused to let it die." Back in his barracks, Jace unfolded the same torn letter he'd once abandoned. This time he finished. "Dear Mr. President, I couldn't salute you before, not out of hate, but pain. Today I salute you for what you chose to become. Thank you for hearing my sister. Thank you for letting the world hear her too." He sealed the envelope. Some stories begin in silence. This one ended with a salute and a voice the world would never forget.